one European Golden Shoe winner, two Champions League winners under the age of 25, three players who have finished inside the Ballon d'Or top 10, and over 600 million euros worth of attacking talent combined. That was the resume of the Real Madrid starting lineup in 2025, and some people, including their president Florentino Perez, believed Madrid would dominate La Liga, win another Champions League, and reclaim their throne as the kings of European football. But they got a season from hell instead. It was a complete nightmare from start to finish, with a manager getting sacked, a humiliating cup exit, numerous injuries, dressing room imbalance, and failed expectations. Vinicius hated playing alongside Mbappé. Bellingham was uncomfortable in his deeper midfield role. Even the Bernabeu fans turned on their own players, and they all clashed with coach Xabi Alonso. This is the story of the 2025-26 Real Madrid, and the spectacular failure of one of the most stacked super teams in modern football history. After they won the Champions League and La Liga double in 2024, Real Madrid had a disappointing 2024-25 season. They finished second in La Liga behind Barcelona, lost the Copa del Rey final 3-2 to Barcelona after extra time, lost 4-0 at home in El Clásico, and were knocked out of the Champions League quarterfinals by Arsenal in a humiliating 5-1 aggregate defeat. Carlo Ancelotti was getting older, and at the age of 65, it was clear the club needed a fresh voice in the dressing room. And Real Madrid, being Real Madrid, went star hunting. First, on 23 May 2025, they parted ways with Ancelotti, who left as the most decorated manager in club history with 15 trophies. 2 days later, on 25 May, they appointed Xabi Alonso as their new manager on a 3-year contract. Even though Alonso was just 43 years old, he had become one of the most coveted coaches in the world, having gone unbeaten in the Bundesliga during the 2023-24 season with Bayer Leverkusen. The next Madrid acquisition was Spanish center-back Dean Huijsen, who, like Alonso, was a rising star. Despite being just 20 years old, Huijsen was named in the La Liga team of the season prior to signing with Madrid. The deal was around 59 million euros, with Madrid activating his release clause from Bournemouth on May 17, 2025. Getting him on a 5-year contract until 2030 looked like a no-brainer. However, the biggest fish on the free transfer market was still playing in Liverpool, until finally, on 30 May, he decided to leave the only club he had ever played for and follow his dream to wear the white of Madrid. After months of speculation, Trent Alexander-Arnold was finally a Madrid player on a 6-year deal, in a move that shocked the entire footballing world. And even though Trent had won everything possible at Liverpool, he was still widely regarded as the most gifted right-back of his generation and the best crosser of a ball in world football. Madrid then rounded out their squad by signing Argentine wonder kid Franco Mastantuono from River Plate on the 13th of June for 45 million euros. Bringing back academy product Alvaro Carreras from Benfica on July 14th for 50 million euros, and promoting Club World Cup hero Gonzalo Garcia to the first team on August 8th. So, everybody believed they had a perfect transfer window and were ready to compete for everything. The bookmakers set Real Madrid as the title favorites in La Liga and among the top contenders for the Champions League, only trailing the defending champions Paris Saint-Germain. During an interview before preseason, Florentino Perez was wildly optimistic, claiming that this Real Madrid would dominate Europe for years to come with the new additions. But despite the championship aspirations and one of the most expensive squads in the league, the first signs of trouble began before preseason even started. Coach Xabi Alonso announced he would implement a high pressing system, which was not well received by the players. The high pressing system is a complex scheme of coordinated forward runs, aggressive ball recoveries, and constant compactness designed to suffocate the opposition and win the ball back as high up the pitch as possible. But this approach demanded enormous physical effort from the wingers and forwards, and it marginalized the laid-back instincts of Vinicius Jr., the lazy positional play of Kylian Mbappé, and the freedom Jude Bellingham had enjoyed under Ancelotti. All throughout preseason, the Madrid players gave lukewarm responses when asked about the new pressing system. But when the season started, Lukewarm was actually a compliment because Madrid started absolutely flying. They won their first 7 games of the season, with Mbappé scoring in almost every match. The team looked balanced, the pressing was working, and Alonso was even named La Liga Coach of the Month for August. Madrid fans, were dismissive of any concerns and believed everything would fall into place. However, towards the end of September, things took a sudden turn. Madrid suffered their first defeat of the season in a brutal 5-2 loss to Atletico Madrid at the Metropolitano. Despite Mbappé and Güler turning the game around to lead 2-1, Alexander Sorloth equalized in stoppage time of the first half. Then, Julian Alvarez destroyed Madrid with a penalty and a stunning free kick, before Antoine Griezmann completed the rout. It was the first time Madrid had conceded 5 in the derby for decades. Alonso said it would take more time for the team to fully adapt to his pressing system, which seemed worrying with such an aging squad. But Madrid bounced back, and through October, they looked unstoppable. They thrashed Kairat 5-0 in the Champions League with a Mbappé hat trick, beat Villarreal, Getafe, and Juventus comfortably. And then came the highlight of the season so far. In late October, Madrid ended their 4-match Clásico losing streak, defeating Barcelona 2-1 at the Bernabeu thanks to goals from Mbappé and Bellingham. After 14 games, Madrid had won 13. Things looked nearly perfect, but after the Barcelona win, the cracks finally showed. Vinicius was substituted in the 72nd minute, and the cameras caught him furiously walking down the tunnel, reportedly saying, "Always me, I'm leaving the team. It's better if I leave, I'm leaving." The Brazilian was unhappy with how Alonso was using him, and the relationship between the player and the coach was officially broken. Before that controversy could grow, Madrid looked out of sync on and off the pitch. And then November came, and the wheels completely fell off. Madrid lost 1-0 to a struggling Liverpool side at Anfield, with Courtois the only reason they didn't lose by 3 or 4. They followed that up with a dreary 0-0 draw at Rayo Vallecano, and then a frustrating 2-2 at Elche, where they had to come from behind. Even when Mbappé scored 4 against Olympiacos, the defense leaked 3 goals in a chaotic 4-3 win. By the end of November, Madrid had dropped points in 3 consecutive league games. The team that had won 13 of its first 14 had suddenly stopped winning. December was supposed to be the month where Madrid recovered, but it became the month everything fell apart. After a 3-0 win at Athletic Bilbao that promised a turnaround, Celta Vigo handed Madrid a humiliating 0-2 defeat at the Bernabeu, with Real having 2 players sent off. The Bernabeu fans started to whistle their own players, with Vinicius and Bellingham bearing the brunt of their frustration. And if their league form was awful, team chemistry was even worse, with Vinicius reportedly considering offers from Saudi Arabia, where Al Ahly were preparing a contract package worth up to €1 billion over 5 years. 3 days after the Celta disaster, Madrid faced Manchester City at home in the Champions League and lost 2-1. By that point, Real Madrid had missed more big chances than any club in Europe's top 5 leagues, with a staggering 42 big chances missed in La Liga alone. Mbappé, once one of the deadliest finishers in the world, was leading the chart with 14 missed, while Vinicius was second with 8. The team was creating but not converting, and the defense was being punished for every miss. Madrid limped to the end of the year with wins against Alaves, Talavera in the Cup, and Sevilla, before loaning out the struggling Endrick to Lyon, an admission that yet another expensive signing was not working out. January started promisingly with a crushing 5-1 victory over Real Betis, where Gonzalo Garcia grabbed a hat trick. Madrid then beat Atletico 2-1 to reach the Supercopa final, and for a moment, things finally seemed to be turning around. But just as things started to go well with the start of the new year, it got ugly. In the Supercopa final against Barcelona, goals from Vinicius and Gonzalo Garcia were not enough as Madrid lost 3-2, with Rafinha scoring the winner. The first available trophy of the season was gone. The very next day, after only 7 months in charge and being 5 points behind Barcelona in the league, Alonso was sacked. The Madrid hierarchy realized they had made a big mistake in what was one of the fastest managerial dismissals in Real Madrid history. Álvaro Arbeloa, the former Madrid right back who had been managing the Castilla B team for only 6 months, became the new head coach. Arbeloa decided the team was overcoached, so he simply let the players play with minimal intrusion. But it did not work. 2 days later, Arbeloa's first match in charge ended in disaster. Madrid lost 3-2 to second division side Albacete in the Copa del Rey. 2 trophies gone in just 3 days, eliminated by a club from the second tier of Spanish football. The most decorated club in European history was now out of 2 competitions in less than a week. Madrid briefly bounced back. They beat Levante 2-0 at home, although Vinicius, Bellingham, and Valverde were all whistled by the Bernabeu fans for their part in Alonso's dismissal. Then came the highlight of Arbeloa's brief tenure, a 6-1 thrashing of Monaco in the Champions League, with Mbappé scoring twice against his former club, and Vinicius producing a man-of-the-match performance. After the game, an emotional Vinicius said the last few days had been very difficult for him because of the whistles. But with this team, nothing good ever lasted. A week later, Madrid suffered a 4-2 defeat against Benfica in the Champions League, against former Madrid coach Jose Mourinho. The defeat dropped Madrid out of the top 8, meaning they would have to play in the knockout phase, playoffs for the second consecutive season. February was a roller coaster. Madrid edged Rayo Vallecano with a Mbappé injury time penalty, beat Valencia and Real Sociedad comfortably, and squeezed past Benfica in both legs of the playoffs to reach the round of 16. But the inconsistency was killing them in the league, with another damaging 1-2 loss at Osasuna, keeping Barcelona at a comfortable distance. By the start of March, with the season at the cliff edge, the cracks in Alonso's old high pressing system, now being patched together by an inexperienced Arbeloa, were becoming chasms. The defense was conceding too many goals. The high pressing identity Alonso had tried to impose had been abandoned, but nothing coherent had replaced it. And the imbalance between the front 3 was now clear for everyone to see. Against Elche, Bellingham was on form. Against Olympiacos, only Mbappé showed up. With Rodrigo in the 2023-2024 season, Ancelotti had the perfect selfless complementary player to Vinicius and Bellingham. With Mbappé in 25-26, that balance had been completely lost. Real Madrid entered April with 1 competition left and a fading title race. 8 points behind Barcelona in La Liga, out of the Copa del Rey, out of the Supercopa, 0 trophies won. Against a Bayern Munich side, playing the best football in Europe in the Champions League quarter-finals. The first leg came at the Santiago Bernabeu, and it was a disaster. Bayern dominated and ran out 2-1 winners, with Luis Diaz opening the scoring just before halftime, and Harry Kane doubling the lead immediately after the restart. Mbappé pulled one back in the 74th minute, but it was not enough. It was Bayern's first win at the Bernabeu since 2001, and their first victory over Real in any competition since 2012. Madrid had to score at the Allianz Arena just to stay alive. 8 days later, the second leg in Munich was another must-win for Madrid, and Arda Güler took control. The Turkish star opened the scoring after just 34 seconds, capitalizing on a horrific mistake from Manuel Neuer. He then added a stunning free kick in the 29th minute to make it 2-1 after Aleksandar Pavlovic had equalized. Harry Kane made it 2-2 in the 38th minute. Then, Mbappé restored Madrid's lead at 3-2 just before halftime after a brilliant Vinicius assist. The Allianz Arena was rocking. Madrid were 45 minutes away from a famous comeback, but with 3 minutes left to play, the dream finally died. In the 86th minute, Eduardo Camavinga was sent off for a second yellow card after an innocuous-looking foul on Harry Kane, with Bayern players surrounding the referee to demand the card. 3 minutes later, Luis Diaz fired in to put Bayern ahead, and Michael Olise added another in stoppage time. Bayern won 4-3 on the night and 6-4 on aggregate. The Kings of Europe were out at the quarterfinal stage for the second consecutive season. Arda Güler, who had scored 2 brilliant goals to spark hopes of a famous comeback, was shown a red card for his vehement complaints. Madrid's players surrounded the referee after the game, full of angry rage. But the season was over, and everyone on the planet knew Real Madrid were cooked. The remaining league games became a formality. Madrid limped through April with a narrow win against Alaves and a frustrating 1-1 draw at Real Betis. The team had completely given up. They finished the season with no trophies for the first time since the 2020-21 campaign. The 2025-26 season turned into a nightmare after assembling arguably one of the greatest squads in football history. There is no question that the high-pressing system Alonso tried to implement was doomed from the start with this aging squad, with Mbappé and Vinicius being two of the players who walked the most in all of La Liga. The coaching choices did not help. Alonso wanted to run a high-pressing system behind a defense missing its best players. But all that did was open up easy chances for the opposition. But Alonso also had to deal with injuries and constant roster turnover that made an already seemingly impossible task of getting these superstars to play together even more difficult. Trent Alexander-Arnold, the marquee free transfer signing, struggled badly to adapt and spent much of the season either injured or out of form, while Militao, Carvajal, Rudiger, and Alaba all missed significant chunks of the season. In 2025-26, they were just too unbalanced and too injured. After the season ended, the questions started swirling about the future. Vinicius Jr. was reportedly considering a record-breaking offer from Saudi side Al Ahly, worth up to €1 billion over 5 years, after his contract talks with Madrid had stalled for months. The Brazilian wanted to be paid the same as Mbappé, but Madrid refused, and his fit alongside the French superstar was always questionable due to both players preferring the same areas of the pitch. In the end, all dynasties must die, and the Ancelotti-era Real Madrid was indeed a dynasty with 3 Champions League titles in 5 years. In 2025-26, they tried to start a new dynasty with Alonso, Mbappé, and Trent, but everything that could have gone wrong did, and they became one of the biggest failed super teams of all time. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, we have another one for you right here.